Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life Process video. So in this video, I'm going to be working on week 16. You can see that I actually haven't done week 15, but I was pretty excited to work on this week because this is the week that I went to story camp and I had just edited the photos and printed them out. And I kind of have a couple ideas for how I want to use Allie's type kit. So the kit that I'm going to be using this go around is her type kit. This is the story kit, and the theme type. It's got some really great elements in here that I love using. Always love the phrase stickers. Of course, always love chipboard, and she usually does include that. This stamp set, it comes separately. This is the story stamp that you can subscribe to separately. And then this stamp set as a 3x4 stamp actually came in the kit. Sorry, I'm trying to get it focused. And then two alphabet sets. So you'll probably see me crack into these, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure what if I'm going to use these on this layout. And then here are some cards that I was looking at, but I'll kind of go through them with you. A couple ideas that I have for this layout. So, you know how I've done in the past is I've taken stamps, like this stamp right here that says happy. It has the same font and the same kind of style as me, as thankful, today, and life. So they have the same font and same treatment, same size sort of a thing. So I was thinking that I could either stamp these on the photos or make individual cards with them and maybe do a repeat. Or my original thought was to take these individual stamps and to stamp them and make 3x4 cards and maybe repeat the words that way. So if I'm not making any sense, I will once I start working. But those are some of my ideas right away to use the stamp set. So I may actually use both. I may do this on the 3x4 cards, and then maybe I'll do some of these with the chipboard and use them both on the photos. So we'll see. I also have, I think, more photos than I can use, and I'll probably, I don't know. It was really hard paring them down, so what I may end up doing is doing an insert. Now I know I've got this note here that I want to put on here, so I'm thinking that maybe I'll print out either a 6x8 photo or type up my journaling, and that way I don't have to worry about getting a ton of details in my 3x4 cards, because I can share more photos that way, and I can just type up my journaling on the back of here. So that's kind of where I'm shooting for. I think I'm going to end up doing that. So anyway, that's just kind of where I am starting, and I am losing the light a little bit. I know it doesn't look that way, but I'm losing the light a little bit. So I'm not going to probably work too long before I'll end up stopping and then just catching back up tomorrow. So let's get started, you guys. Right now I'm just going through some of the cards that came in the kit to see which ones I might want to use. And you can see that there was several that were very similar, and I set those all aside because I thought that they might go really well together in another week, but I didn't necessarily want to use them for this week. So I thought it would be kind of fun to put them together almost like a theme because they were very similar. So maybe I will be doing that coming up soon. I'm looking through my photos, so I actually had a hard time figuring out which photos I wanted to print, which photos I wanted to use, and I was just running out of spots. So I definitely wanted to do another insert just because you saw that I wanted to do a 6x8 insert, but I just had more photos than spots. So I definitely decided to do an insert, and you can see that I printed out some 3x4 photos, which I had not done previously. And I did print them out with a white border around it. And now I'm just kind of moving things around to get them in the spot I feel like I might want them. And you'll see here in a second, I decide to go ahead and pull out a 6x8 insert. This one is going to be the 3 pocket. So it's going to have 1 4x6 and 2 3x4s. During all that decision making, I did decide that photo of me, you can see I'm sitting down there. I am going to be using that photo to blow up as a 6x8. That's why I kind of set it aside, and I'm going to actually type up my journaling at the bottom. So you remember how I said that at the beginning, that insert, that maybe I would add journaling to the back or a photo. I'm actually going to do both. So I'm going to end up doing that journaling off camera. In fact, I believe I do it that evening, have it printed out and ready to go. So when I'm filming the next day, like I said, it was pretty late in the evening when I was doing this. I love that there's a lot more light now in the day, but I was kind of losing the light, and of course just stuff going on that I was, in and out. I just needed to wait to the next day to finish it. So I'm looking through like how I want to lay this out, like I've been doing. So I'm looking at the cards, adding some of the 3x4 cards that I want to use. I'm looking at the chipboards, and you can see that I am now working on the insert and trying to figure out which photos I want to add to it. Really like that photo of Allie and I holding the story camp, because I feel like it was almost a title for the insert and kind of to let you know what was going on with the remainder of the week. So I was really happy to be able to put it there. And I'm thinking about having a see-through element, so I haven't quite gotten to that yet. All right, so I am going to move on to my journaling cards. So I mentioned this at the beginning that I wanted to do maybe some repeat stamping. And so I just went through and thought of some of the stories that I want to tell, and then did some repeat stamping with some words. So this one that you're seeing me work on right here is yes. And I'm gonna make 4 of them, and I think I only show you a couple, mostly because you'll see that it's just kind of tedious, and I didn't want to have to make you sit through all of it. But there's a couple pointers. So you definitely want to get an ink that you can do a second generation stamping. So you can see that I'm stamping once, and then I'm stamping again, and then I'm stamping again, and I get like a lighter version each time, but you're still able to see the word. So some inks are better at this than others. So just maybe test it out. You can see that I tested it out before. I was thinking of using the Studio Calico Black, because they're actually, I know that their stamp inks are really great for second generation stamping, but for whatever reason it was really dry, so I couldn't really get a good impression, a good black impression the first time. So I decided to use my Versamark ink. Now the other thing I would say about this is I just feel like black gets everywhere, and you can kind of see it on my table, but I don't know if it's just because of the way I stamp, but I felt like I was getting black all over my fingers and all over the cards. So I would just say watch out for that and just try. I mean, unless you want it to be messy, which maybe that's what you're going for, because obviously this is a more messy look. Just try and be careful about getting black everywhere, because that's the one thing that I noticed. You can see that there's some black there right under the home. I just felt like I was getting it everywhere, but I really love the way this looked. Now you can see that I'm jumping to the next day. I had taken a break, and I finished the 4th one that was favorite there, and I did the journaling. So you can see that photo is blown up to a 6x8, and then I just wrote the journaling. The way I wrote the journaling was very list based. It was, I want to remember. And so I just kept repeating, I want to remember over and over again, and then wrote down the things from that week that I wanted to remember. And this was actually something that I did on the plane. So oftentimes when I'm coming home from vacation or a workshop or something like that, I have my journal out and I'm writing about my experience. Sometimes it's like, what did I learn this week? This time it just happened to be, what do I want to remember about this week? Because it felt very significant in my life. And it was definitely one of those weekends that I left feeling full and fed. And you guys, if you ever get the opportunity to go to Story Camp, definitely take it. I know it's hard to get in, but keep trying. It is totally worth the effort. it was an amazing weekend. I really can't say enough for how much I enjoyed it. All right, guys, but back to what I am doing on this spread. So I have this photo of Allie and I. It was actually really funny. I was taking a picture of myself in this window, or it was actually a door reflection, and there were everyone behind us working, and then Allie came up behind me and made like a face, and I took the photo, and it ended up being really cute, but I thought that would pair really well with that little letter that she wrote on the Take Action card. And so now I am just trying to fill in the pockets. That's really the next thing I want to do. And like I said, I wanted to do something transparent there. And I was just going to put like a blank, like I was just going to get like a transparency that was blank. But when I was looking for my blank one, I found this star that actually had already been cut out that was a 3x4 size. So I'm like, totally use this because the stars are cute and I don't have to do any other work. So I knew that I wanted to put something on the back side of that as well. So I grabbed over some paper. It was just some paper that was sitting right off to the side. I think it's a card from Studio Calico maybe. And I'm just cutting out the circle. Oftentimes, I think it's better to put the chipboard right on the piece of paper and then cut it. But because I had to stick the chipboard onto the transparency, I couldn't do that. And I actually ended up doing it a couple times. The first time I cut it out, it was too tight. And so I did it one more time, leaving more margin around the circle that I had created. And that seemed to fit a little bit better. And then I'm using the word phrase stickers that came in this kit. This was a great set because a lot of them had to do with type and words. And of course, words was one of the topics that Allie talked about. So I thought that there was just a lot of opportunity then to be able to add some more of those phrases to this spread. That one there, I think, says remembering everything, remember all of this or something like that. And I thought that paired really well, again, with the journaling that I had mentioned that was all about I want to remember. So now I'm looking at adding some chipboard. I feel like I went in a different order this time. Instead of doing my journaling right away, I'm looking at how I want to embellish this. And I loved all the chipboard. I loved all the color and the sentiments. And so I'm just kind of looking at ways I can use the chipboards on this set, and then maybe how I can pair it with other things like these word phrase stickers. So just ways to kind of decorate but not overload. That's something I've mentioned before that I've really been thinking about is I want to be able to use my product, and especially the products I love, but I want to be very subtle. I don't want to be very bold about it sometimes because I just want to let the elements, the photos, and then the elements on the page really stand out. And sometimes I feel like when we overload them, it like can take away. But then again, sometimes I don't. So it is definitely a mood thing, but just something that I've really been thinking about lately. So you can see that I am making decisions and I'm making them happen, which is not always something that I'm awesome about. A lot of times I'll have to like put the chipboard down and I really think about it and ho-hum back and forth. This time I was like, no, love this chipboard, putting it here. I'm going to make it happen. So I did get some of those down right away, which I want to say I'm proud of myself because that's something I want to work on and do better at is just make the decision, move on. This is not rocket science. It's not that big of a deal. We're just having fun with paper and products and our photos and our words. So let's just get it down and have fun while we're doing it, right? Okay, so that's my new motto. I am actually right now working on the title card and I'm using some StazOn ink. So StazOn ink is so much better when it comes to stamping on the photo. It just sticks better, you get a better impression. However, my StazOn ink is really dry, so I could not use it. I was trying to get a really good impression. You can see that I was practicing over and over again, and all it was doing was this really light gray, and I didn't want to use it because I couldn't restamp it well. You know, once you stamp this, you can't restamp it again. So I need to get a reinker, and I am buying a reinker this week. I'm reminding myself to do that so I can have it because it really does make a big difference on your photos when your photos are slick to use the Stays On ink. Now the Versamark's not bad with my photo. If I had printed my photos, I printed at home using some Epson photo paper, and it's a little bit stickier. Like if I were to do this at Costco, it's really slick, and that Versamark ink would not work well with it. So it just so happens that the Versamark ink works pretty good with the Epson photo paper, but just keep that in mind. If you're going to use it, that it's going to be slick. So I would definitely go for the Stays On. That is my first choice. It just wasn't great. So I need to buy a reinker. All right, you guys, so I am now just getting to some of the journaling. And you saw that I did that first one that said what, and that was all about how in the world is it still snowing, even though that is such a foolish question to ask, because I know it always snows here in the spring, always, every year, and it always will. But I was just bummed this year about it. And then the second journaling I'm working on, so the yes, I wanted to add more than one story to it. So I decided to do a list of 2. And in the story stamp, so this is different from the story kit. This is a separate piece. It has 1 through 4, I believe, numbers 1 through 4. And so I decided to do, just use that to stamp right on there, and then just do 2 pieces that I wanted to say yes to this week. And so I did a little bit of that journaling, and I cut it down just because that second pocket is always a little bit tighter, and things always fit a little bit tighter in there. I'm also moving things around, which you see me do all the time, just kind of like, wait, I want to, it feels like I want this over here. I think it was because I wanted that black or that dark over towards the left. I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure why I make some of the decisions I do. I just kind of look over and I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to do that over here instead. So I just changed my mind. I'm doing the same treatment on this favorite. There were 3 favorite things from the weekend that I wanted to highlight. So the first 2 journaling were actually about the first 2 parts of the week. And then favorite and the home were about the second. So I did a lot of my journaling in that 6x8 insert that I told you about. So I didn't feel like I had to add more to the story there. So I just wrote 3 favorite things from the weekend. And then this journaling about home was all about what I came home to. So it was more like a list based, like I came home to homemade cookies, and my husband had turned down the bed so I could take a nap if I wanted to. So little things like that I was welcome home to, 70-degree weather, which was really nice. It was actually warm for once, because when I left, it had literally just snowed. So that was what that journaling was about. And now I'm just adding a few more pieces, just finishing touches. Like I said, I really like those word phrase stickers, and that a lot of them had word type words, if that makes sense. And I'm just looking to see if I want to add anything more. I saw this "Aw Yeah" stamp, and I wanted to add this to the letter. This photo is of a letter that my daughter got about a music scholarship that she received. And so I thought that would be a good thing to add, the "Aw Yeah," because that's pretty awesome. She actually ended up getting 3 scholarships, 1 academic and 2 music scholarships, which is really nice, because I feel like you spend all this money paying for the violin lessons. It's really nice to see that some of that money's coming back, right? All right, so the first time I stamped it, you could see that it was pretty light. And like I said, that happens a lot when you're stamping on smooth cardstock. Just like I said, keep in mind. So I ended up stamping it again. And luckily, because the block was see-through, I was able to align it pretty well. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely good enough. So I'm working on my last bit of journaling. This one I had intended to make a list, but I just ended up writing out a paragraph of a bunch of the stuff my husband has been doing around here. Definitely feeling some spring cleaning. So that's what that is all about, just little projects he's been doing around the house. And then I'm just going to add this, I think this is the last bit of chipboard that I haven't adhered down. And I kind of put that happy a little too high, and I hadn't pushed it down all the way so it wasn't stuck completely down. That's the only reason I was able to lift that up, because I feel like once you put those chipboards down, there is no moving them, especially on a photo. So the last thing I'm doing is considering adding this chipboard somewhere in this spread, but I don't end up using it for this one, but I do end up using it for week 15. Anyway, you guys, I am done with this spread. Do you guys ever get done with a week and you're so giddy because you just love the way it turned out? That's definitely how I feel about this. I loved that type treatment. I love the repeated stamping. And then, of course, I just really loved what the subject is. So I think that that probably made a big difference to me, that this was all about my experience at Story Camp and just what a positive, fulfilling experience that was. So anyway, you guys, hopefully you were able to get some inspiration from this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. I hope you have a lot of fun working with the type kit. It is a good one. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye.